What, no last name? Good evening, everyone. So over the weekend, MSNBC canceled Joy Reid's TV show. And according to the network, all of her wigs were quickly released back into the wild. There they go. When asked about her future plans, Ms. Reid claims she plans on spending more time with her family, accusing her relatives of racism. Elon Musk said all federal employees have to send an email saying what they accomplished in the past week. Musk said, I'll start. I fathered 5 different kids. Probably true. Hooters is reportedly preparing for bankruptcy. Now will I get lunch? Asked one man. It's pretty ironic, though, that Hooters is going tits up. Oh. I know. You know, that was not necessary. I could have just moved on. Donald Trump is looking to sell off the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building in San Francisco. Yeah. It's in pretty good shape, too, having been maintained by the same construction company that built her face. Tiny people. A wild brawl broke out at the Spirit Airlines gate at the Atlanta airport. As punishment, every Spirit passenger was allowed to board their flight. After a trans female basketball player missed her game, the team ended up losing by 26 points. But on the bright side, they didn't have to shower in their uniforms afterward. That's a good joke. A large number of Asian voters in San Francisco have announced they are walking away from the Democratic Party. Well, thank God they're not driving away, or we'd all be in danger.
Oh, racist, say.
Applauding a racist? You're terrible. According to Chris Christie, the Trump administration is a clown car. And after saying that, he left in his car. Finally, the Yankees have lifted their decades-old no facial hair policy. Wow, now I can finally play in New York, said one woman. All right. It's a sad moment for the show. Joy Reid is out. Of course, we're heartbroken, for she provided this show with more material than a seamstress at The View. On slow news days, Joy was always there to help with a racist rant. Oh, I loved her. Remember these golden oldies?
We do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men. What they're saying is we own this country and everyone will bow down to us.
In America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears.
Now, I don't like to use hyperbole, but Joy's firing is the biggest blow to racists since the Confederacy lost. Because not only did cable news lose a bigot, but the bigot herself might finally get the round-the-clock care that she really needs. But you got to wonder how she was able to last this long. The irony, of course, is in her name, for did Joy bring any joy to anyone's life? No. Oh, I didn't know this was a call and response show. But think about it. I'm willing to bet no one ever said, you know, I was going through a tough period in my life, and listening to Joy Reid really got me through it. If anything, it was their tough periods in life that got them through Joy Reid. But that's the problem with MSNBC and legacy media. Their income was based on making life worse. Instead of focusing on real stuff, they created hoaxes, ones that sowed division and hopelessness. Now, Joy's firing came on the heels of MSNBC's parent company, NBC Universal, settling a $30 million defamation lawsuit with a Georgia gynecologist. I know, Georgia. In 2020, the network reported that the doctor working at an ICE detention center was performing unwanted hysterectomies on immigrant women. The network called the doctor the uterus collector. I know, that was my nickname in college. Here's how they reported it.
Just to underscore that, the allegation here is that this is a federal facility, and they have been sending immigrant women in their care, in their custody, to a doctor who has removed their reproductive organs for no medical reason and without them consenting to it.
The nurse says that detained women told her they didn't fully understand why they were undergoing hysterectomies.
You talk about in the complaint a hearing from women who are detained there, talking about a specific doctor performing hysterectomies, referring to him as a uterus collector.
Oh, yeah. Chris Hayes was one of those who peddled this story about the uterus collector, but his only proof was that his was missing. And yes, the story sounds horrible, almost too horrible to be believed. But for people in legacy media who suspend common sense on all things Trump, it was just too good to check. It had to be true, but it wasn't. And the tip-off right away is that these hacks would actually condemn a doctor forcibly collecting uteruses, because when it comes to kids, it's lovingly called gender affirmation care. And you'd think the fact that no one else was reporting this might have been another clue for these great investigative journalists. Although calling Nicole Wallace, Chris Hayes, and Rachel Maddow journalists is like calling Stacey Abrams, Jerry Nadler, and J.B. Pritzker plus-size models. So how far were they off? Well, the judge in the case states that there's undisputed evidence has been established that there were no mass hysterectomies at the facility, and the doctor is not, quote, a uterus collector. So other than that, their reporting was perfect. So MSNBC has reportedly decided to settle up rather than risk a trial. But you still got to wonder how this story, this hoax, got this far. Well, what was the point of the hoax in the first place? To damage Trump and his determination to finally tighten the border. They wanted to believe it was true. You know, like when I told that flight attendant it was a war injury. The anchors just loved the idea that there was a sinister doctor forcibly removing uteruses so that these women couldn't have kids after entering the U.S. It's so evil, so fascist, so Trumpian. Seriously, how soon will Hollywood make a movie of that? The evil doctor could be played by Kevin Spacey. Yeah, and the uterus could be played by Peter Dinklage. It makes no sense. Don't try to make sense of it. But again, how did they fall for this garbage? Well, first, maybe they felt that if they were wrong, of course, no one would check. But also, any belief system is a continuum. And if you go far enough out with it, you can arrive at a very bad place, especially if you already start at a bad place. Like, say, Trump is Hitler.
Yeah. Like Trump, Hitler was also viewed as a clown, a goon, who could be kept in line. It was blatant fascism meets the Jerry Springer show. If that sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. Violent, terrifying, and sometimes bizarre conspiracy theories that set the table for maybe armed resistance to a Kamala Harris win or mass acceptance of American fascism.
Let me know when you guys are finished fighting amongst yourselves who I got to vote for in November to keep Hitler out the White House. If it's Biden in a coma, I'm going to vote for Biden in a coma.
You'd vote for Biden in a coma. But why not? You did the same thing in 2020. Meanwhile, coma patients are blinking out Morse code for, come on, guys, we're not that bad. Amazing. But you can see how Joy laid the groundwork for the hoax. So what's left of MSNBC? Well, they're replacing Joy with a 3-person panel. So if it's a slow news day, they can call each other racist. Which raises the other question. Maddow and the others pushed the uterus story. Reid did not. So why is Joy fired and the rest of them aren't? Is it because they're all white? I mean, here's a case where Joy can actually cry racism. And finally, for once, it might be true. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He was in the movie 50 Shades of White. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. Her stances are courageous and her laugh is contagious. Host of the Michelle Tafoya podcast, Michelle Tafoya. The hospital gown that won't close was his idea. Hosting of Ask Dr. Drew on Rumble, Dr. Drew Pinsky. And she can cover about and make liberals tap out. Host of Outkick, Good Morning, Charlie Arnold. I think I want to just play an up-to-date clip of Joy Reid responding to her firing. Do we have that? Let's play that.
And that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV.
Now I feel sad. I'm just kidding. It's really hard, Tom, to feel sympathy for somebody who demonized millions of people, who put targets on people's back by calling them racist, white supremacists, or Tom Shalhoubs.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the only one she let off the hook was Hitler.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. You know, that was amazing. That from that monologue, she was like, oh, Hitler was also known as a clown who could be kept in line. I don't remember reading about that. Like, what German generals were like, oh, the Führer, he's such a clown. Didn't happen. But I do now, after seeing her cry, I do feel bad for her. I mean, at least she kept things interesting. I don't know who they're going to replace her with. Maybe, you know, we had Jen Psaki went from the White House to MSNBC. Maybe, you know, you got Morning Joe. What about Evening Joe?
No.
Evening Joe, but I mean Evening Sleepy Joe. Oh. Why not? It'd be like, welcome to No Malarkey. Tonight's top stories, I'm still alive. And I don't mean Joe. I mean, like, give the show to me.
Oh. That's good, yes. You were Joe.
I would watch some of that for sure. So, Michelle, do you get a sense that, like, MSNBC, this is not a drastic change. They're unloading the baggage. But it doesn't feel like, oh, we're moving to the middle with the replacements. I mean, Simone Sanders, Michael Steele, is that his name, Michael Steele? I can't remember. Never Trumper.
Right.
I mean, these are all the same.
Right.
It's the same characters.
It's, yeah, I came from the NBC family. My most recent television job in sports was the NBC family. And so I know some of the people who are involved in some of this stuff. And I think that they would like to move at least to the middle. They would like to reflect more of America. But as you said, I don't know that this trio necessarily does that because they're all of one mind. Mm-hmm. But I want to get to that uterus collector story too, because that name is incredible, right? And it reminds me of Covington. Mm-hmm. Remember?
Yes.
Our friend, I can't remember his name now.
Guy who won a lot of money off CNN.
A lot of money.
Yes.
Nicholas Sandmann.
Yeah.
And it reminds me also of when AOC went to the border and cried and said that people were drinking water out of toilets.
Yes.
Now, that was never proven either, but she was allowed to say that.
Yeah, and she said it like it was a bad thing.
But we also have George Stephanopoulos and that $15 million settlement about the rape thing. And we've got, so the lawsuits are starting to kind of pile up. And I think that networks are going, you know, we don't want to have to give away all this money all of the time. And it's hurting us a lot.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot going on with this network. It's hard for me to see it going too far to the right. But I think some people want to nudge it that way.
Yeah, I don't see it. Go, you drew your fingers up. That means
it means I want to speak. But to follow what Michelle was saying, that these hoaxes, with what they are too on the nose.
Yes.
And they've been successful for the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. They've taken things that are so on the nose, they are outrageous and impossible to be true, and somebody has pushed them forward as truth, and they've succeeded, so they're continuing to run after them until the legal system steps in. Thank God that physician sued them.
Yes.
Because his life could be ruined by, And these people need to be put on notice. They harm people with the things they say, and that must stop. Also, one other thing. Yeah. Big day today. Big day today. This is the day that Keith Olbermann and Greg Gutfeld agree. Reid out due to racism.
Yes, exactly. Is that what he said?
He said that.
Oh, my goodness. See, I also think that what weird timing it is that this, that this came out and you saw all of these liberals getting fired. Do you think that when they saw this, they read the writing on the wall? Charlie, you're going to be here all week. It's good if you agree. You should agree with me.
No, I mean, of course I'm going to agree with you. Of course. I have no other option, right? No, the bar has been set very high. And there is beautiful irony in all of this. You said it in the open. I mean, her name's Joy.
Yes.
This news quite literally bringing all of us joy.
Finally.
Not to mention, we can't ignore the fact, everyone, it is Black History Month.
That's true.
To be a woman of color and get fired during Black History Month, you really have to be bad.
Yes. Yeah.
But it makes sense, though. I mean, the latest domino to fall as far as the leftist characters go, Drew, you said it. I mean, for years, these people have been able to say exactly whatever they wanted. No one questioned them. No one could push back because, A, people had no idea what was fact and what was false in some cases because there was no transparency in our government so they could get away with murder. And then, B, the people that did understand what was real and not were too scared to say anything. But we've entered such a different era where Trump is not afraid to call BS on anybody. I mean, we're in the golden era, everybody.
Age. You know what? It's right, though. Her firing Joy Reid, like, during Black History Month, that's like firing Chris Christie on Fat Tuesday.
So, I mean, bye-bye, Joy Reid. Hello, actual Joy.
Yes. All right, we must move on. Up next, Elon wants proof federal workers aren't goofs.